Hello. The aggression of Russia against Ukraine was accompanied by rhetoric that we had no choice, that if not us, we would be attacked. And not by Ukraine, but by a scary West as our joint historic opponent. The whole thesis itself that the West wants to capture Russia has been used by Russian propaganda for many years. In these four words, there is so much mixed together that one needs to unwrap it layer by layer. Let's start with the first word, the West. Propaganda talks about the West as if the world is divided into two parts, Russia and everything else. Some beyond the border region. On one side of border is us, beyond the border is them, and they're hostile and organized. Of course, it sounds absurd to anyone who did not miss geography at school, but propagandists do not appeal to your mind, they appeal to emotions and fear. For them, this picture is cozy. It sends you back to the times when our ancestors were sitting by the campfires, where it was warm and safe, and around them there was a dark, scary forest with a lot of scary animals. This primordial fear is what propaganda is peddling. In reality, of course, there is no unified single West. Even the NATO bloc, which is daily used as a scarecrow in Russia, is very diverse by its contents. 30 countries, that includes island of Iceland, relaxed Greece, frosty Canada, hot Turkey, and 50 states of the United States, each of which is quite a country in its own right. If you try to organize something, perhaps a homeowners association meeting, not even talking about anything bigger, you know perfectly well that these systems do not have single will. It exists only in the paranoid mind of a person, but not in reality. And it's useful to confront that reality as is and bring yourself back to look at it. Let's now approach from a different angle. Why Russia? Why that proverbial West is sleeping and dreaming about capturing Russia? Why not India? Why not Australia? Here, propagandists offer us a ready answer. Because Russia is the biggest and the richest with natural resources. We have oil, coal, and the whole Mendeleev table of elements here, and it's 1/6 of whatever is part of the world. So, a very tasty piece for evil geopolitical opponents. Okay, let's go back to reality. Russia occupies 11% of land. Indeed, it is the biggest country in the world. Here, propaganda is right. But the propaganda forgets to add that most part of these endless lands is practically uninhabited. Density of population of half the country doesn't reach even 2 citizens per square kilometer, and over 20 citizens per square kilometer, which is also not much, can be found at 1/10 of the Russian territory. No programs helped foreign investors, over-advertised Far Eastern hectare that was given away for free. If one compares the usable lands, Russia will not be bigger than Mexico. You can recheck if you want to. Here somebody may object. But the main thing is not citizens, it's resources. Our natural resources that the world wants to get so much. Capture the country, enslave the population, and just keep digging our natural resources away. Let's take a look at that. And here a question to you. Who is the world leader on the oil reserves? You think Russia? No, small Venezuela. Behind it, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq. Russia is not even the top 5. Coal, China and United States. Uranium, Australia. Iron, yes, Russia is first here, but almost next to Brazil. No arguments here, the natural resources of Russia are rich. Nickel, forest, natural gas. Here Russia is still the leader. But if to be objective, our position in the world and natural resources is not exclusive. Somebody has it better, somebody has it worse. You can also compare that via GDP, because all income from all natural resources is part of gross domestic product indicator. Russia has about $1.5 trillion annually. How much is it? It's roughly 3 Belgiums, or 2 Switzerlands, or 1 Brazil. Half of Germany, a third of Japan. And it's difficult to compare with China or United States, we'll get lost in the margin of error. The real picture is as such. GDP of Russia is less than 2% of global. And that's including all our energy, forest, minerals, and metals. It's not surprising. Global economy depends on resources less and less. Annual GDP of Russia is actually lower than the valuation of one company, Amazon. And Google, Microsoft, and Apple are worth even more. Post-industrial world where we live in, it's the world of human capital, services, and technologies. It is these elements that contribute the biggest part of GDP in this world. And to top it off, in our recent history, there was time when one, if he wanted to capture Russia, could have done it fairly easy. The beginning of 90s. Soviet economy is already dying, armies in tatters, everything is stolen, and in the near future there is a threat of hunger looming over the country. One could have taken Russia with bare hands, could bring in the troops, get the jets up in the air, and the planes actually got in the air. Hundreds of planes from that proverbial West, from United States, that is being depicted as enemy today. But they were not bringing bombs or Navy SEALs. Instead, they were bringing what was dubbed later bush legs, American chicken thighs, for empty store shelves of Soviet Union. Nobody wants to capture Russia. Nobody thought of it back then. So, if you confront the facts as they are, one needs to recognize the obvious. We're not being sought by anyone to capture and enslave. No one. Russia is being remembered about only when it needs help, or when it needs to be straightened after threatening the whole world with nuclear missiles again. But nobody, except for probably our own propagandists, is dreaming about invading Russia. And that, I'll tell you, is normal. Besides Russia, there are about 200 other countries in the world that nobody is capturing, and people in those countries are living just fine. Have a good day.